Hey, it's me, GameWolf. So, for some quick context of at least myself with regards to Israel, I used to be a Republican, religious, used to watch Fox News, lived in the country. Then at some point, I started watching BBC News, stopped being religious, became left winged, and my views of this country went from a shining beacon upon a hill, surrounded by enemies that it needed to do whatever it took to survive, to becoming what I personally feel is a rogue state that is, adversarial to the United States, no matter what our politicians say. Now, I feel that in this thing, that I should do what I can, legally, which, as an American, land of the free home of the brave, that would be like saying, hey, don't do that on social media. I should go to my politician and be like, hey, politician, maybe you don't support this country. Maybe talk out about this country. And if there's any companies that either sell products to the IDF or that generate quite a bit of money towards the IDF, I should be able to be like, you know what? I should, not buy those products. Vote and speak with my wallet. Should be simple. And like, I might go, hey, other people, you might want to do this too if you feel about the same about this as I do. Now, legally, I say I can't, and I don't. Now, I don't usually put this stuff on my YouTube because it's like, hey, when it comes to politics on my YouTube, I'm a gaming channel, but I do things where I'm like, talk, Russia, talk, religion, but it's mostly just gaming, Twitter would be the more political part. Well, I also have a job because, YouTube doesn't pay shit. I just do this as a hobby, really. But I had a email a couple of days ago where my company's like, hey, I'll read you the actual thing that it has. It's a long thing, but I took out a couple of snippets where it's like, hey, we're gonna be, these are anti-boycott things, and Israel reports and things like, okay, this is something I heard on the internet, on news stuff. I wasn't 100% was true. I didn't think it affected me. Now it affects me. And sorry, I am doing the white American male thing where it's like, hey, it's not okay, but then it's like, well, when it's affected me more, then I actually do it. But, So I thought, you know what? It's affected me more. I'm pissed off. Like, even more so. I've been pissed off for, months and years. I am going to do something that certain people might not like. I'm going to do a video about politics. So let's get rid of my face because, it's going to be covering bits of the screen and, go through this thing. And it's going to be a while. And sorry, some of these video pictures are going to be, not good. Because this is about Israel and the war and apartheid and war crimes and etc., etc., etc. So let me put on the PowerPoint part of it. There you go. So, boycott. Verb is withdrawal from commercial and or social relations with a country, organization, or person as a punishment or protest. Noun, a punitive ban that forbids relations with certain groups, cooperation with a policy, or handling of goods. Now, you wouldn't think that would be bad. But, We have anti-boycott laws in America. Do I just click? Okay, there we go. So, also for clarification, what Hamas did on October 7th is bad. I don't like Hamas. I would not align with Hamas. Civilians should not be targeted. Hamas shouldn't have targeted civilians. Any country and people, including Israel and Israelis, have a right to exist and defend themselves. But genocide is bad. War crimes are bad. Apartheid is bad. Civilians should not be targeted. Palestine, other Middle Eastern countries, countries in general, have a right to defend themselves. We shouldn't help countries that commit war crimes or at the very least backstab us. You know? And for the context of it, this is like the words that were sent to me. It's transactions, what is boycotting? It's transactions or other dealings that are subject to anti-boycott laws and regulations, including direct or indirect support of certain unsanctioned non-US boycotts, which is kind of weird because it's kind of weird that it's like, hey, you can protest in this country, you can boycott stuff. Well, only certain protests and certain marches and certain boycotts, some of them can be sanctioned, but then others not so much. It's like, really? So you can boycott the government, but only if the government lets you, Well, not boycott, but protest. Anyways, continuing on. The company will comply with all relevant United States anti-boycott provisions, including government reporting requirements, and will avoid taking actions that could subject the company to penalties or adverse tax consequences. While it's the company's policy to comply with all applicable laws in the jurisdictions where we work, any conflict between the United States and other jurisdiction requirements related to boycotts internationally should be reported to the legal department, which will provide further instruction. Conflicts of laws frequently arise in countries that support the Arab League boycott of Israel, which is not endorsed by the United States. Consult the compliance portal on Redacted to obtain the current list of such countries or seek guidance on legal department. Now, it's like, okay, anti-boycotts. It says that, and right there, it's like, other jurisdiction requirements related to boycotts should be reported. So it's like, oh, hey, if you think somebody might be, boycotting a thing, you should report it. It's like, okay. I mean, this was something that was on social media and would be kind of on the periphery unless I'm just really going to be doom scrolling. Now you're making it a part of my life to go, hey, you can't, not eat McDonald's or go to Starbucks. And because, they gave a cup of coffee to, like, the IDF. But here's the thing. What's fine to boycott? Like, you can, like, in America, it's like, okay, you can boycott companies from adversarial countries. Like Russia. I don't think the United States would be like, wait, you're boycotting, I don't know, Russian oil or something? Or boycotting Chinese goods because of the Uyghurs? No, you're perfectly fine to do that. And that's fine. You can boycott countries that are neutral allied countries. I'm not 100% sure. I read the thing, and it's like, we shouldn't boycott things from allied countries. But then, as you can see in some of these pictures, it's like, I don't think the United States would be angry at me if I did a boycott of English tea and crumpets. And there was this whole thing when France was like, I don't think we should do that whole war thing, even though we're going to send you troops to go to Iraq. America was like, no, French fries? Yeah, freedom fries. Hell yeah. You can boycott Bud Light for having a trans person on it. You can boycott companies that support LGBT people. You can boycott companies that support people of color. You can boycott companies that criticize police brutality. You can boycott companies that for wokeness, whatever that can be. Because, culture wars and all that stuff. And let me get some water because it's late at night and I'm talking just all this stuff. And I remember when, there was boycotts of Pokemon and Harry Potter. Why? Because Pokemon was of the devil. Because you're having these animal familiars that have magical powers that fight for you. And you get them to get Satan. Oh yeah, and then there's also the Satanic Panic. And then there's Harry Potter and all that stuff. And as you can see here, there are these women that are going to stop targeting our children. I think that's with regards to the trans children swimwear that didn't actually exist. Because of course it didn't. But anyways, what is not fine to boycott? Apartheid states turn unabashedly genocidal country committing war crimes on a daily basis. Or a country that repeatedly stabs the USA in the back while taking more aid than any other country. Whether we're talking about lump sum or per capita. And it's weird because, as a kid growing up in America, it was yeah, protesting is good. Freedom of speech is good. What did the founding fathers do? Well, they dressed up as Native Americans for some bloody reason, went onto boats, and, destroyed a whole bunch of tea, property, to boycott, the tea and to protest, the tea tax. Taxes. They were protesting taxes through vandalism. This is literally what the founding fathers did, and America is really great on, or puts on a pedestal founding fatherism. Let's see. What's un-American and needs to be punished? Standing here with signs saying Free Palestine and boycott Israel. It's weird. Again, can we go back? Yeah, let me just do that. This is what the founding fathers wanted and did, and is fine. It's completely American. Un-American. Needs to be punished. American. Un-American. And down there is the list of companies that in one way or another support Israel. And here's a few others as well. I cannot say whether I can't say that I boycott these things, because as an American, I can get in trouble. But I don't boycott these things, because honestly, I don't. Because even if I could, I don't actually buy these products. There are some of these products, but I don't really go out and do stuff to, I don't go to Chevron, so it's just here's a whole bunch of companies that's stuff. But anyways, the criminal stuff, I went and looked this up from the Bureau of Industry and Security, the OAC. And it's basically, you can read this stuff here, or you can go to their websites. You could probably just type it in. I don't have the thing there. But it's objectives. The anti-boycott provides an ear encourage, and in specified cases require U.S. persons to refuse and participate in unsanctioned foreign boycotts, which is kind of weird. How it's if there's a country that's selling bananas in America, and I don't like that country, can I not be well, I'm going to protest this country by not buying its bananas? Apparently that can be illegal. Who would have thunk? Anyways, they have the effect of preventing U.S. persons from advancing foreign policies of other nations that run counter to U.S. policy. It's okay. And it says, primary impact, the Arab League boycott of Israel is principal unsanctioned foreign boycotts that U.S. persons must be concerned with daily. The anti-boycott provisions of the EAR, however, apply to all unsanctioned foreign boycotts. So it's all unsanctioned, but it's mainly the Israel one. And I've seen some stuff on the internet where it's videos where it's well, if you can protest, but you just can't be hired by the government to do government jobs. But here's the criminal part right there. The U.S. government may impose a criminal penalty of up to 1 million on individuals or companies for a criminal boycott violation. Individuals may additionally or alternatively face up to 20 years of imprisonment for boycotts. Somehow in my country, it's you can like pay up to $1 million, go to prison for me. Like, I'm not gonna buy Chobat like Saba thing and getting other people to not buy this dip. And let's see what other crimes don't count as much. Let's see, 2nd and 3rd degree felony, state felony, and Class A through C misdemeanors. And I'm doing this with regards to the state of Texas. And this thing can be graded to 1st degree felony. I mean, 1st degree felony does have some things that are higher, but 1st degree felony is murder, rape, and theft of $200,000+ of property. So again, if you organize a group to be like, we're not going to buy McDonald's because Israel's committing war crimes, you may face bigger penalties than for murder. As, Ben Ami Kadish, who was fined $50,000, but didn't go to prison. Now, he wasn't the person that, did a boycott. We'll get back to him later. So, list of war crimes that Israel did. Genocide, intentional harm of protected persons, violation of treaties regarding vulnerable individuals, disproportionate response, collective punishment, forced displacement, and land annexation. Perfidy, which I had to look that up, which is telling Palestinians to go to an area to avoid bombing, then bombing the area they were told to go to. Desecration and mutilation of corpses, destruction of cultural property, food, medical supplies, humanitarian aid, and restricting cutting off thereof. I guess that would also be gas as well. I left that out accidentally. But, being like, hey, if we starve, if we cut off all water, food, and electricity, everything will be better. Defaulting on obligations as an occupying power because, Israel occupies Gaza and Palestine. And you can see my sources down there. I mean, I have Wikipedia there, but I just added that there. It's like Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, Institute for Palestine Studies. And unfortunately, Israel is acting like the Nazis. So they don't get just a list of war crimes. They get a list of war crimes part 1 and part 2. Collective punishment, blockade, forcible transfer, using white phosphorus. This stuff right here, which, burns really hot and can easily mutilate people. And discriminate attacks. Attacks on Al-Shanti refugee camp airstrikes, the Jabata camp market strikes, UNRWA school airstrike, Church of Saints Proferus airstrike. I'm not going to even bother. Anita airstrike and hospitals in general. Remember that hospital where they're like, underneath it, there's this bond complex of things where they have an intel center and humongous amounts of ammunition, and then they attacked it, and they killed a whole bunch of people, and then they went in, and then after the reporters let them have 24 hours after they took it over, the IDF found a box of guns next to an MRI machine. That was it. Anyways, continuing. Murdering of surrendered people, murdering of journalists, murdering of medics and, healthcare workers and doctors. Abuse and sexual humiliation of detainees, dressing as civilians, because you might have seen, and I thought, maybe I misread it earlier, because I thought I saw that it was the IDF says that Hamas is dressing up as doctors to shoot people, but then it was actually the IDF that dressed up as doctors, went into a hospital, and started murdering people. Next. And yeah, here's just some things I thought would punctuate it a bit, where it's like, here's them blowing up places, and, you know, this little, oh wait, my thing's recording over here, where it's like, you know, Israel is not doing things to Gaza, and then Gaza, the IDF's like, hey, look at us, we're blowing stuff up. Isn't that neat? And it's just like, or it's like, hey, we used the wrong bombs to bomb Gaza. And it's like, yeah. Anyways, let's go on to casualties. At least one's caused by Israel. And, you know, these are different numbers because, you know, they're staggering and constantly growing, and, you know, different news organizations might say some slightly different things, but here's the news organization and dates that I got them from. So let's see, 25,105 murdered civilians, 8,663 were children, about 62,681 wounded civilians, 83 to 90 journalists within these 1 to 2 months. Now, for reference, in all of World War II, all journalists killed were 67. 63 of all journalists killed in Vietnam were 63 of them. Israel killed directly more journalists than all of World War II. That's staggering. And World War II lasted years. This war, 2 to 3 months. They killed that many more civilians. Anyways, they've also killed more than 300 healthcare workers. They've also killed directly 3 hostages. You know, the ones that were civilians. At least one of them was as white as, well, I was going to say I was, but you don't see a picture of me, really. But, you know, they were white. They were not a person with a tan, or a person that looked like they were from another race, but with lighter skin. They were white. They were wearing civilian clothing. They were waving a white flag, being like, hey, IDF, over here, please rescue us. And they were shot by the IDF. And, you know, my boomer, like, a boomer person I know would go, well, you know, war's kind of confusing and stuff like that, and you don't know what's going through people's heads. Like, these guys are waving a white flag. They were wearing civilian clothes. I mean, what the hell is a hostage supposed to do in these situations? They can't go to the people that's supposed to be rescuing them? But anyways, there's an untold number of hostages that have been bombed and, you know, killed. Because, unfortunately, in this situation, like, but prior to the situation, Israel's thing was, what do we do during these wars? Well, we'll bomb the fuck out of them. Then hostages were put into the equation. And they asked the IDF, okay, what are you going to do in this situation? At which point, the IDF said, our plan of attack's not changed. Bomb the fuck out of them. And just, here's pictures of, you know, people being hurt. I mean, like, I do kind of retweet animal stuff a bit more because, like, that's even more closer home to me. Which, like, people going, hey, this animal was killed, or, you know, here's Palestinians helping an animal that was hurt because the IDF, and then here's journalists finding out that their family was killed or they were killed. Here's Christian families that lived in Palestine that were killed. Here's IDF's, I guess I could point to it, or you could read it. IDF were, like, no, sorry. Medical workers sniped by the IDF. Why does the IDF need to snipe people? Seriously. And I put it very much in the corner, you know, drawings that, you know, children made of, you know, them being oppressed and killed by the IDF. And to put a little bit here, here's, you know, Israeli families of Israeli hostages being like, guys, stop bombing Palestine. Our family's there. You're going to kill them. And then, here's a little thing where it's like, hey, Palestine used to be a really nice place. Before and shortly after Israel came into power and all that stuff. So, the big question is, what's the case for Israel being an ally? What have we done for Israel? What has the United States done? Well, we vowed to fight for them. We've fought in Iraq and, been extremely adversarial to Iran. As far as I know, the only time in my lifetime that we've not been as adversarial to Iran was when, Obama was in charge and, relations were warming and we were like, I remember this one time where a U.S. Military boat went into Iranian waters, the Iranians captured them, and they were like, hey, our boat kind of fucked up, and the Iranians were like, yeah, your boat did fuck up. Okay, you guys are free to go. And Obama was like, hey, let's sign this military deal. At which point, American intelligence was like, yeah, they're following the deal. But, the Israel intelligence agencies and the Republicans were like, no, they aren't. We need to get rid of this deal. When, Trump got in charge and got rid of it. Anyways, continuing on, that we're an ally to Israel, that we send them money to Israel. As you can see from that list there, that's the total amount of aid that we give them. We give them over $3 billion yearly, and that's just cash. That's not including other programs and shit. That's not including, free technology that we give them, like our drone and optics technology that they sold to someone else. But we'll get to that shortly in a bit. Well, in a bit. And also all that weaponry. And that's the thing that I find funny. It's like, we're giving Ukraine money. We're giving Ukraine weaponry. And some of it could be kind of weird because it would be like, we give Ukraine $3 billion, but it's actually like $3 million, but then it's actually $3 million in guns we aren't going to use, kind of thing. At which point, Republicans were hemming and hawing, but like, we don't have the money, we don't have the guns, da-da-da-da-da. As soon as October 8 happened, I think we should send like, $50 billion to Israel or something like that, and send our ships over there and give them guns and rockets and da-da-da. It's like, okay, where did all this stuff come from? And of course, we veto every single UN resolution that's ever been put against Israel because you know how the UN works. It's a voting apparatus, but you got 5 countries, which is the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, China, that can veto anything, which I think is a really stupid idea because you're never going to get anything done, really. But yeah, pretty much the entire world is like, hey, this is war crime stuff happening here. And all Israel got to do is be like, hey, United States, veto it. And we go, it's vetoed. And I also added these things right here where it's like, we bombed these places, so I'm not surprised that we put a whole bunch of money into them. I probably should have included South Korea. Yeah, I probably should have. But anyways. And then, here's my conspiracy theory. I'm kind of wondering if I should play these things, but basically on the left there, it's Benjamin Netanyahu being like, you need to attack Iraq because they have weapons of mass destruction. I mean, I guess I could play just a wee bit there.
Of course, finally, if you might elaborate a little bit further on what you think his first use of nuclear weapons might be.
I can only give you the information that I can divulge from my tenure as Prime Minister, and it is...
and now he's Prime Minister again.
The information we had was that Saddam was pursuing all avenues of developing weapons of mass destruction.
Now, I guess on further research that was talked about a bit more, but as an American, a young American, you didn't hear WMD's weapons of mass destruction. But then,
Either
shortly
the Iraqi
after,
regime will give up its weapons of mass destruction, or for the sake of peace, the United States will lead a global coalition to disarm that regime.
so, like, this is my conspiracy theory because, like, okay, George Bush Jr., he is an evangelical. He was great buddies with Benjamin Netanyahu. And, the American government and politics is very buddy-buddy with, Israel. So that, Israel goes, you need to attack Iraq. They're about to have weapons of mass destruction. And we go, well, I guess we go do that. And guess what happened? Oops. There we go. Guess what happened? We attacked Iraq looking for weapons of mass destruction. Over 20 years. Found none. What happened next? Well, Israel told us that we need to attack Iran because they're weeks away, weeks away from getting weapons of mass destruction. I mean, I know that at some points they were developing mass nukes, but here's the thing. If I was Iran, I mean, I would either want to not have nukes and definitely not develop them because that might put a target on our back. But as you can see with Iraq, that doesn't not put a target on your back. And if you had a nuke, maybe Israel would stop bombing Iran as much, And the Republican war hawks wouldn't, go, well, I think our diplomatic thing is to do a first strike on Iran. I'm not liking Iran, okay? I have to predicate it. I don't like Iran. And anyways, what has Israel done for the United States? Well, they gave us intel, which turned out to be false. Again, Iraq and Iran and all these other things. Well, they did fight in Iraq. Oh, wait, no. When they said for us to attack Iraq, they didn't do diddly. Well, when the Arab Spring happened and ISIS appeared, you know that thing that was kind of like Al-Qaeda, but on steroids, that made Al-Qaeda look conservative in the way as, not radical. Not conservative in the way that America is, where it's, completely off the wall. But anyways, I digress. Where, like, it was the absolute worst. Now, I thought they were, like, right next to each other, but they were a bit a ways from it. Not too far. Like, I think it's, like, 200 miles. Like, an airplane flight, definitely, but still. Did they fight ISIS? No. America fought ISIS. Syria fought ISIS, Iran fought ISIS, Iraq fought ISIS, lots of people fought ISIS. Israel did not fight ISIS. What Israel did fight at the time were people fighting ISIS. And for some reason, ISIS wasn't fighting Israel. I don't know. Maybe they just were too busy, being genocidal maniacs. I'm talking about ISIS, but anyways. Does Israel fight Russia? China, North Korea, adversaries of the United States? Not really. They sell weapons to them and technology to them. I'll have some snippets later. But when it comes to actually fighting them, no. Did they fight in at least one of America or NATO's wars? Nope. Oh, but they do send hundreds of millions of dollars to America. That's a good thing, right? Oh, no, wait, it's the politicians, AIPAC, and others. I have that link down there, too, because, like, some of these things I know off the top of my head and stuff, but it's like, well, here's a little bit of stuff here so that you can verify it. I just don't like putting links because, YouTube. So, what has Israel done against the United States? Well, here's a meme. So, it's a whole bunch of things. Like, this is the understanding of U.S.-Israel relation, where it's like, well, we blew up your ship, we stole your secrets, we did it again and again, we sold your missiles to China, we broke your deals, We bought off your Congress, we broke your democracy, we killed an American, thanks for all the money. And Obama being like, guys, you need to, not be genocidal, and Netanyahu being like, he's an anti-Semite and a Muslim. But anyways, for the first one, it's USS Liberty. Basically, when the United States was trying to monitor communists near, Egypt, and Israeli aircraft flew over it and went, this is an American aircraft. Sure it's American aircraft? Yep, it's American aircraft. Okay, jam signals and bomb it. And then when people tried to flee it, they attacked the people fleeing it, which is a war crime. Seems to be doing more war crimes than, Nazi Germany, at which point the United States found out, and that was, classified because we didn't want to make Israel look bad, or else the president in charge wouldn't get as many, votes from the evangelicals. Hyena. And then, I don't know exactly what these guys did. I didn't get what they specifically sold, but there's Jonathan Pollard. He's like a big person in Israel. I think he might still be in prison in the United States. Hopefully he is, but he stole state secrets. Lawrence A. Franklin, again, stole, spying for Israel, stole state secrets. Ben Ami Kadish, another one. And you might be like, that name sounds familiar. That was the guy from all the way back there who had to pay, $50,000 in fines and no jail time. Again. This guy stole state secrets from America to sell to Israel, and he got less of a sentence than somebody who boycotts Israel. Anyways, selling U.S. missiles to China, that's in the 1980s onwards. I'm not sure what agreements that we did that they broke, so I put a big old question mark, but, there's quite a few. There's the American-Israeli Political Action Committee, the group that I think a couple of months ago spent $100 million to try and get, the 4 politicians in our, Congress that were somewhat critical of Israel. I don't know what's up with that guy that's pointing there. The other guy is Furkan Dogan. This guy down here, $3 billion plus to Israel every single year, and free weapons and technology. And then here's some more stuff right here. Israel stole classified U.S. information to help congressional Republicans, if by looking into leak of classified documents on multiple years. Israel's economic espionage on the United States. Truth about Israel's secret nuclear arsenal, because here's the thing. They go, no country in the Middle East should have nukes, which, I can agree on. But, Israel has a secret nuclear weapons program. Everybody knows it. At least, that have basic knowledge and stuff. And them stealing, I guess, uranium, decades and decades ago. And here's them aiding our enemies. Because for years, Israel was selling drones to Russia. So, we're allies with Israel. We're opponents with Russia. Russia is what with Israel? Because Israel's selling, technology and drones and weaponry to Russia. I mean, if we're backing Israel all the time, why are they doing this stuff? Why are they passing U.S. military technology to China? Why are they exporting arms to China? I mean, I'm sorry. Does the United States sell Russia and China weapons? I don't think so. But when it comes to Israel's greatest ally, and at least to American politicians, America's greatest ally being Israel, we're very close to each other. But for some reason, Israel keeps stabbing us in the back. So, how is Israel our ally? why do we not... Wait, what am I saying? Why do we not only allow, but defend this? Like, how far do we go for this? Because, like, a boomer quote, like, whenever it's like, well, I go, Israel keeps annexing places, my people that I know go, well, it was originally their land, and it's like, okay, I looked up what's their land, and it's like, oh, here's the people in high parts of Israel, you know, there's Benjamin Netanyahu and the finance minister being like, well, here's greater Israel. This is our plan for the future. And it's like, okay, how long are we going to back that? And here's Israeli propaganda and jokes. There's terrorists dressed like civilians, you know, so that they can excuse shooting civilians. Even though there's the next thing where it's like, how does the IDF prevent civilian casualties? Well, I guess not well, because as you see directly underneath it, there's, you know, a group of Palestinian men waving a white flag and shot and killed. And then here's, you know, TikToks and stuff of like, there's a guy being like, I'm in a destroyed Palestinian school. Let me do a joke here. Or that one down in the middle where it's like, oh, you guys don't have any schools anymore, so none of you are going to become engineers. And then at the bottom left-hand corner, there's, you know, an actual advertisement in Israel being like, we're going to get a bit more land. And look at this, you can get a seaside view. Maybe invest in this stuff. Like, seriously. When Nazi Germany was bombing the fuck out of Warsaw in Poland, you think it would be a little on the nose and a bit over the top for the Nazis to be like, yes, and then we're going to build the nice buildings along the river, some river, or along the coastline of this bombed out place, because, you know, we are the bad guys. And it's like, how many war crimes is too much? Like, how many? I mean, just today. Like, is Israel, the IDF, dressed up as doctors, went into a hospital and started killing people? And it's like, and I'm not meaning, oh, it's a Hamas stronghold. It's like, it was a hospital. Hopefully still is. And they went to people on ventilators and were in comas and were executing them. And here's another bit of IDF propaganda where they're like, Hamas infiltrating tools, rocks, explosives, arts and kites, wire cutters, Molotov cocktails, burning tires, a rope tied to a fence, disabled civilians, children. And here's some things over here. Does a 5-year-old throwing a rock deserve a bullet? I mean, apparently to the IDF, yes it does. Yes, they do. There's also stories of, like, children, some of them toddlers, but I found a 9-year-old where it's like, they wandered into land that they used to be on, but then they were evicted from, and then an IDF soldier killed them from a distance. The kid was by themselves. Murdered. And it's like, well, I guess if the IDF view children as tools for Hamas, then it must be perfectly fine to murder them, because as you've seen prior, they murdered them by the thousands. And sorry, this is why I made the video, because it pisses me the fuck off. And it's like, this is the news cycle we tend to see. It's like, nothing happens for a while, and then, oh no, Hamas is attacking out of nowhere. Isn't that awful? Well, then Israel, you know, fights back. And, you know, I guess I should have put these slides a bit better, because I should have put it where it's like, and then here's the glorious IDF, you know, doing stuff. But then it's like, when you actually, you know, see a bit less America stuff, you get, you know, this, where it's, you know, genocide and destruction and a whole bunch of stuff. Because it's like, peace, Hamas breaks the peace, and then Gazans suffer. Then there's peace, Hamas breaks the peace, Gazans suffer. The thing that usually is left out of the American, uh, media cycle is the part in between. This, where children are murdered, where Palestinians are evicted in the middle of the night from their homes. They can't take their stuff. They're just told to get the fuck out. Where children are beaten. Where, like, people are beaten. Children are beaten. Children are shot. Children are kidnapped. It just happens all the time. And then there's even just, like, tiny little lesser things where it's like they want to develop their stuff. But since Israel owns all the water and owns everything, they'll be like, what, you want to build apartments? You don't get water for that. You can't get cement for that. I also forgot, not American Red Cross, but the Red Cross is like, okay, this is a humanitarian problem. We're going to bring food in to these people, and I don't mean during wartime, I mean during regular time, and the IDF is like, no, you can't bring food to these people. I'm sorry. Who were we talking about again? Was it the Soviet Russians, Nazi German? Oh, right, the IDF. And also, I had this thing because, like, somebody commented, "What do Americans think?" Now, personally, I have a strong unfavorable opinion of Israel. I used to love Israel because it was like a shining beacon upon a hill. It was because, again, as an American, as a religious person, as a Fox News watcher, it was Israel is a peaceful nation, minding its own business, and then all of a sudden these dirty Muslims come in and start wrecking things. So Israel has to defend itself. Then you look at something other than Fox News, maybe something international like BBC News. Even I look at that and go, that's giving Israel too much credit, and see this. And I'm disgusted. And I see my politicians going, ah, yes, Palestinians deserve this because this happens sometimes. Like, again, what Hamas does is absolutely terrible and horrific. But what Hamas does not excuse this or this. So yeah, and again, also, like, Israel, I was surprised how many times Israel backstabs America. I do not support an adversarial country. America gets a Snickers in a twist because another country nationalizes its oil. But somehow Israel's able to be like, well, we're going to attack your military, we're going to steal your technology, we're going to sell it to your adversaries, and also we're going to tell you that you should probably go fight a war in Iraq. And spend thousands of American lives and trillions of American dollars. And for what? But anyways, from people that I know personally, usually young, non-religious, and foreign people from the United States feel less favorable to Israel. But older, religious Southerner people are favorable in Israel. I know somebody who said that if that one person, like an Indian guy, became like the Republican frontrunner or something like that, he would try and assassinate him. Why? Because that person said that they would cut off aid to Israel. Not attack Israel, cut off aid to Israel. That's how things are in America, I guess. I thought America was, more unfavorable to Israel, but I guess not. That, politicians are extremely favorable to Israel. I guess it's like maybe America loved Israel a whole bunch, but now we're kind of a bit more on the fence. But our politicians are definitely in bed with Israel, like most of them, except for AOC and stuff. And as you can see on these charts, it's like, well, I guess I'm kind of surprised that there isn't a male or female difference, but I guess not. But as you can see, younger generations are less favorable to Israel. I'd have to suspect because, younger generations are more left-winged, are less religious, and have maybe are able to get more of the social media. Like, hey, Israel is doing a lot of genocide. But, there's older people. Like, I definitely know older people who might, shirk away when it's like, oh, some things, criticism with Israel, and then others who will be like, Israel has the right to defend itself. This was Israel's land, so if it takes more land, then that's perfectly fine. And just like. Anyways, on the final slide is what I want to do, but legally cannot. In America, in the free market land of the free, I cannot buy product. I cannot not. Okay, sorry, I probably should double negatives and reread this, but I cannot not buy products from I want to do. Sorry. I would like to not buy products from companies that profit off of genocide and war crimes. You'd think that would be, an easy thing, but I would want to be able to not buy products coming from annexed places. I wouldn't want to buy products that come from, I think, Crimea or Donbass, Tibet, or various places that were taken from Palestine. I would like to not be told I cannot boycott a product from a rogue country by my employer or my country. Like, it really ticked me off when I got that email that said that thing in the beginning. That we're complying with anti-boycott laws and to report it. Like, okay. Is this 1984? I'd like to say that we should not support criminals and dictators without fear of losing one's job, be fined, or imprisoned. Like, I feel like I take risks when I email my congressman or my representative being like, hey, don't support this country. They are committing genocide. You want a country to support? You got Ukraine. They got, they're fighting a war literally against our adversaries. Every bullet you give them is a bullet against our adversaries. Now, I really wish there wasn't a war, but this is where we are at, And, give aid to other countries because, other countries could use a bit of a pick-me-up and stuff like that. Like, sometimes times are hard and sometimes economies need to grow. And also, I would like to not doom-scroll a situation compounded by America and other countries. It would be nice to be like, America, heavily pressures Israel to not do that stuff. America gives food and water to the... again, another thing that just happened, that Israel's like, 10% of the people that were part of this aid organization directly fought on October 8th. And the West, the majority of the West is like, oh, it did, Israel? Well, we should, cut off all aid and food to this organization. It's like, and, oh wait, I put face rig off, so it doesn't matter. Now, granted, it'd be best to not have any of this happen at all, but I feel like it's worse. And again, I feel sorry that this is a first world white person problem being like, well, it affects me and that's the bad part, but that it's worse when it's your people in your country doing it and you're forbidden to do things. I'm worried that if I I'm worried that if I put on the internet or say in person, I'm not going to go to McDonald's because they support Israel, that I could be fined. You know, I could lose my job. You know? And as a thing, like, if I organized, against Starbucks for, giving money to Israel, or McDonald's for giving food to IDF soldiers who are killing civilians, I'm committing a crime there, apparently. Israel's not committing a crime by putting white phosphorus on children. I'm committing a crime for, organizing people to not give money to a company that are helping the people commit the genocide. Like, at the very least, we not support the new Nazis? Like, as a person of German heritage, it does, like, the Nazis are bad people, but it does kind of bug me that the world's, who's the bad guy thing is the Nazis, because it's like, yeah, it is a terrible thing that happened in that time, but also, there are tons of other times where there was just horrible bad people. It does kind of pain me to go, here's the Nazis, but, like, here's the Nazis. Here's the Nazis. They're literally going to get living space. They're literally making designs for living space. They're dehumanizing and making excuses to kill civilians. And for some reason, like, these people here are the bad guys for waving a white flag too aggressively. I'm the bad guy for daring to think that I would harm this nation by not buying a chicken sandwich.